I never liked hospitals. They always smelled like endings. But that morning, when I pushed open the glass doors of St. Augustine Medical Center, something felt different in the air, like the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to shift. I came for therapy, the same boring routine I've been stuck in since returning home from deployment. My shoulders still clicked when I lifted it. My back still burned on cold mornings. But the truth? I wasn't healing because I didn't want to heal. Healing meant moving on, and moving on meant leaving my wife's memory behind. I wasn't ready for that. I walked down the long corridor, passing nurses who moved with a rhythm I didn't understand. Busy, purposeful, alive. I wasn't any of those things. I was just a man trying not to drown in silence. That was when I saw her. She sat on a therapy bench near the window, adjusting her sleeves like she was trying to hide the bruises from her falls. Her hair was short, soft brown, curling slightly near her cheekbones. She was pale, too pale, but her eyes, they were fighting. You don't forget eyes like that. Eyes that refuse to surrender even when the body is tired. A nurse helped her sit properly. She flinched in pain but smiled in apology, the kind of smile that tried to convince the world she was fine. She wasn't. I knew that look too well, people pretending they weren't scared. I'd worn the same mask for months. I tried focusing on my stretches, but she kept glancing my way like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. Then I heard her voice, soft, unsure. "Hi." I looked up, surprised she spoke first. I nodded back. "Hi." She tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear, trying to hide her shyness. "I'm Lily," she said. "Ethan." She smiled, a small, genuine thing, like my name meant something. I didn't know why that warmed something inside me that had been cold for too long. Her therapist asked her to stand. She gripped the parallel bars, her arms trembling. Sweat gathered on her forehead. Halfway there, her legs buckled. I stepped forward before anyone could think. "You got her?" the therapist asked. "I've got her," I said quietly. She looked at me, embarrassed, but grateful. "Thank you," she whispered. I nodded. "Just take your time." She took a breath, steadied herself, and stood again. When she finally sat down, she gave me a look that felt important, like something had shifted. Later, when therapy ended, I went to the cafeteria for my usual coffee. Black, bitter, familiar. I sat at my isolated spot, the corner table nobody liked because the AC vent made it cold. Before I could take a sip, her voice came from my right. Can I sit here?" It was Lily again, holding a tray with tea and crackers, hospital luxury. "I don't want to bother you," she added quickly. "You're not bothering me," I said. She sat carefully, like sitting hurt too. "I've seen you around," she said. "You look like someone who doesn't talk much." "Guilty," I answered. She laughed softly. "It's okay. I don't talk much either, except when I'm nervous, or scared, or trying not to think about things." "And which one is today?" I asked. "All three," she said, trying to smile but failing just a little. I looked at her hands, thin, trembling, cold. Cancer does that. Life does worse. Before I could say anything, a sharp voice cut across the cafeteria. "Harper, you're late again." I felt Lily freeze. And then the woman stepped forward. Heels loud, face sharp, hair perfect, attitude deadly. Karen Whitfield. Not the HOA Karen from my night maze, but somehow exactly the same energy, same tone, same entitlement, same poison in her smile. "Rules exist for a reason," Karen snapped. "You don't get special treatment just because you're sick." Lily shrank like a balloon losing air. I stood up before my brain even caught up. "That was unnecessary," I said. Karen turned her head slowly, scanning me like a barcode she didn't want to scan. "And who exactly are you?" "Someone who doesn't appreciate you talking to her like that." Karen scoffed. "Oh, look, the hero type. How predictable." She leaned closer to Lily. "Move. Now." Lily's breathing quickened. She looked like a small animal cornered by something bigger and meaner. "She'll move when she's ready," I said. Karen's eyebrows rose like she'd spotted a challenge. "You don't get to decide that." "Neither do you," I replied. For a moment, the entire cafeteria paused. The clatter of trays, the hum of vending machines, everything froze. Karen finally stepped back. "Fine, but if she misses another appointment, I'm reporting both of you." Then she walked away, her heels stabbing the floor with every step. Lily looked at me with a mixture of shock and gratitude. "Why did you do that?" she whispered. "Because someone had to," I said. Her eyes softened again, not with fear this time, but with something gentler, something warm. And for the first time in a long, long while, I felt heat return to the cold part of my chest. That evening, the sky outside the hospital turned a shade of deep purple that only shows up right before night truly falls. I sat on the bench outside the east wing, the one facing the quiet garden. It was one of the only peaceful places in the building, a small square of green in a world filled with machines and sterile smells. I came here when I needed to breathe. I didn't expect to see Lily again, but she appeared slowly, walking with soft, careful steps, holding herself like someone who had learned to move without waking her own pain. She looked around hesitantly before spotting me. "So, you come here often," she said with a shy smile. I scooted slightly to one side. "You can sit." She lowered herself onto the bench with a soft sigh, hugging her arms around her chest. It wasn't cold, not really, but she shivered anyway, the kind of shiver that happens when your body's tired in ways you don't confess to people. "I'm sorry about earlier," she whispered. "Karen gets intense." "That's one way to describe her," I replied. "She wasn't always like this, you know," Lily continued. "She used to be a patient advocate. She used to help people. But then she got promoted, and something changed. Power does that to weak people," I said. She looked at me, studying my face. "You don't like her?" "No," I said simply. "Why?" "Because she reminds me of every person who ever talked down to my wife when she was sick. Because she uses authority like a weapon. Because she sees people as problems, not people. Because she looks at you like you're a burden." But I couldn't say all that, so I said the simplest truth. Because she made you feel small. Lily inhaled slowly, her eyes softening. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't hear that often." Silence followed. Not the hospital's heavy silence. This one was softer, almost warm. The kind of silence where words didn't need to rush. I noticed her fingers rubbing her wrist, the skin bruised from repeated needles. "Does it hurt?" I asked quietly. She hesitated, then nodded. "Sometimes it hurts so much I forget how to breathe." Her voice was so fragile that I wanted to hold her hands, but I didn't. "Not yet." She looked at me again. "Does yours hurt too? You'll pass." I let out a breath I'd been holding for months. Every day. She didn't ask more. She didn't need to. Somehow, she already understood. We sat together for a long moment until she pulled her knees slightly closer, resting her chin on them. "Do you believe people meet for a reason?" she asked suddenly. "I used to," I said. "Then I stopped." "What made you stop?" "Life." She nodded slowly, like she knew exactly what that meant. "I believe it," she whispered. "Even if life hurts. I believe some people show up right when we need them." Her voice faltered slightly. "And sometimes we don't know why yet." Before I could respond, the glass door behind us swung open, and the sharp rhythm of heels echoed against the concrete. "Karen." She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, irritation radiating off her like heat from a desert road. Well, she said. "I should have known you'd be out here." Lily instantly stiffened beside me, her shoulders tightening. "What do you want?" I asked, not bothering to hide my annoyance. Karen's eyes flicked to me with a smirk. "Relax, hero. I'm not here for you, unfortunately." She stepped closer to Lily, ignoring the way Lily physically shrank back. "You miss your scheduled pre-check for tomorrow's treatment," Karen said coldly. "You do understand that missing it can push your chemotherapy slot back by days." Lily swallowed hard. I forgot. I was talking to." "I don't care who you were talking to." Karen cut her off sharply. Then she looked at me again, her voice dripping sarcasm. "Next time you feel like playing bodyguard, remember that hospital rules exist to keep people like her alive." My fingers curled into fists. "You don't have to talk to her like that," I said. "She needs someone to remind her of reality," Karen replied. "Not someone who fills her head with fairy tales." Her words were a blade meant to cut, and they did. I stepped forward. "Say one more thing." "Ethan, stop," Lily whispered, gripping my arm weakly. Her hand trembled against me, and that tiny tremor did what my anger couldn't. It pulled me back. Karen noticed a moment, smirked, and said, "That's what I thought." She turned away, her heels echoing her victory, but right before she disappeared inside, she added without turning, "Both of you have early schedules tomorrow. Don't be late again." When she was gone, Lily let out a long breath, the kind someone holds too long. "I'm sorry," she whispered. She always finds something." "You don't have to apologize for her," I said. "She's not wrong. Lily whispered, staring at the ground. I should have gone. I wanted to feel normal for a few minutes. Her voice cracked. I moved closer, slowly, giving her space to refuse, but she didn't. She let me sit beside her again. You deserve normal, I said. You deserve more than this. She wiped her eyes quickly. I don't want you sticking your neck out for me. Karen hates anyone who gets in her way. I'm not afraid of her. You should be. She knows people here. She can make things very hard for you. I've been through worse, I said. Her eyes softened again, like she was seeing pieces of me I didn't show often. Ethan, why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me. I looked at her, really looked at her, and the truth rose in my throat before I could stop it. Because you looked at me like I wasn't broken. Her lips parted slightly, surprise flickering in her eyes. And maybe... I swallowed. Maybe I needed that. She blinked rapidly, holding back tears. For someone who doesn't talk much, you say things that hurt the right way, she whispered. We stayed like that as night settled around us. The garden lights came on, glowing against a tired face, making her look impossibly young and heartbreakingly brave. She leaned her head back, closing her eyes. Ethan, can you stay? Just for a little while. I'm right here, I said softly. And that night, it was the first time I didn't feel alone. She didn't either. Tomorrow, everything would change. And neither of us knew what storm Karen was about to unleash next. But for that moment, we let ourselves breathe. Together. The next morning didn't start with sunlight. It started with panic. I woke up earlier than usual, something gnawing at my mind. Maybe it was the way Lily looked last night, or the fear in her voice when she said she didn't want to be alone. I kept thinking about her trembling hand on my arm, the way she held on to me like she was holding on to the last safe place left. When I walked into the therapy wing, the room felt wrong immediately. Too quiet. Too empty. She wasn't on her bench. Her teacup wasn't on the table. Even Nurse Rodriguez whispered like something was off. I scanned the room twice, then 3 times. No sign of her. My heartbeat kicked up. I walked to the nurse's counter. Where's Lily? I asked. Rodriguez looked conflicted. They moved her early this morning. Move her where? Second floor diagnostics. Karen ordered it. Of course she did. I didn't wait for permission. I took the stairs 2 at a time. When I reached the diagnostics hallway, I saw Karen standing near a room with 3 staff members around her, clipboard in hand, chin raised like a queen reviewing her soldiers. She saw me instantly. If you're here to cause another scene, I'm not in the mood, she snapped. Where is she? I asked. Karen tilted her head with fake innocence. You mean Lily? She failed to report for her pre-check yesterday, so I scheduled her first thing. She didn't fail anything, I said. You interrupted her. She was late. That's all that matters. No, what matters is she's sick and scared and doesn't need someone treating her like a problem. Karen stepped forward, disdain dripping from her eyes. You're becoming a distraction. For her and for this hospital. I held her gaze. You don't scare me. Good, she said with a tight smile. Then this won't bother you. She stepped aside slightly, revealing Lily through the half-open door. She was sitting on the exam table, hugging herself, shaking. Her face looked drained, far paler than yesterday. Her eyes darted to me, and they said everything. Fear, exhaustion, relief. The moment she saw me, her shoulders dropped as if she'd been holding her breath for hours. Karen noticed the shift and stiffened. You can't be in here. Diagnostics is restricted. I ignored her completely and walked inside. Lily breathed out shakily. Ethan, I didn't know where they were taking me. I sat on the small stool beside her. You okay? They woke me up early, she whispered. No one told me anything. They just said it was urgent. My jaw tightened. You're safe now. Her fingers brushed mine softly, accidental, or maybe not. Karen's voice cut in sharply. You're interfering with patient procedure. You're hurting her, I said. She's a patient with a critical timeline, Karen argued. If she breaks protocol. She didn't break anything. You pushed her. Karen's face twitched, something dark in her expression. If I pushed her, it's because people like her need structure. Without it, they become unmanageable. I felt something hot burn in my chest. People like her, sick, vulnerable. Lily's breathing picked up again, the room's cold air amplifying her weakness. I don't want to fight, she whispered. Please. I lowered my voice. You won't have to. 2 nurses walked in with machines. One of them paused. We need to start. Miss Harper is overdue. Lily flinched again. They began attaching wires, taking blood pressure, checking her vitals. But her hands trembled so badly she couldn't keep still. I gently held her fingers to steady her, slowly, softly, so she wouldn't feel pressured. Karen noticed, and she hated it. Touching patients during diagnostics is against protocol, she said sharply. I'm grounding her, I replied. You're stressing her. Karen's eyes narrowed. She shouldn't rely on you. She doesn't rely on me, I said calmly. She trusts me. Lily closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling deeper as I held her hand. I do, she whispered. Karen's jaw clenched so tight it looked painful. The nurse finished the prep. We're ready, but Miss Harper is showing signs of stress. Her heart rate is high. She needs to calm down, the other nurse said gently. And then Lily whispered, almost to herself, Ethan, please don't leave. Something in me melted and solidified at the same time. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Karen's voice boomed from the door. He is leaving. No, Lily said suddenly, her voice cracking but firm. He stays. The room fell silent. Karen looked like she'd been slapped. Miss Harper, she said slowly, you do not make staffing decisions. No, Lily whispered, but I can choose who makes me feel safe. Karen opened her mouth, then closed it again. The nurse turned to her. If his presence stabilizes her, there's no harm. Karen glared at me like I'd personally declared war on her. This isn't over, she hissed under her breath. Then she stumped out of the room, every step seething with rage. Lily watched her leave, then leaned back weakly. I'm sorry, she whispered. She always does this when I'm scared. She thinks yelling will make me stronger. That's not strength, I said. That's control. Lily turned her head toward me slowly, her eyes glossy. Thank you for choosing to stay. I sat beside her, not touching her now, just placing myself close enough for her to feel anchored. You don't have to go through this alone, I said. What if you get tired of me? She whispered. I won't. You don't know me yet. Then let me, I said softly. She exhaled shakily, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm scared, she admitted. Of everything. Of tomorrow. Of getting worse. Of being forgotten. You won't be forgotten. How do you know? I swallowed, because I remember you already. Her breath caught. Something deep shifted in her eyes. A connection neither of us invited, but both of us needed. The nurse gently asked her to lie back. She did, but her eyes never left mine. And in the middle of that cold diagnostic room, filled with machines and fear and Karen's shadows, something warm grew between us. Something real. The machine hummed softly beside her, filling the room with a kind of noise that made everything feel too real. Lily lay back on the thin bed, her breathing slow but uneven. Every rise of her chest felt fragile, like a small wave trying not to break. I stayed on the small metal stool, elbows on my knees, watching her carefully. She kept glancing at me between tests, quick, nervous looks, like she was checking if I was really still there. Your heart rate is coming down, the nurse said. That's good. It's him, Lily whispered. He keeps me grounded. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were steady. The nurse gave me a small, understanding smile before stepping out to adjust the next test. When the room was quiet again, I asked, How long have you been fighting this? She stared up at the ceiling. 3 years on and off. It gets better, then worse, then better again. Like a sea tide I can't control. You don't have to control it alone. She turned her head toward me, eyes softening. You keep saying that. Because it's true. A small smile touched her lips, tired, but real. You're different from most people, she said quietly. They see cancer, but you see me. I see someone trying, I said, and someone brave enough to keep trying. Her eyes glimmered, and for a moment the room felt warmer, like the machines buzzing around us couldn't reach us anymore. But the door swung open sharply, breaking the stillness. Karen walked in, not knocking, not pausing, not caring. She moved like she owned the hallway, and everyone in it. Her gaze landed on Lily first, cold, calculating, then shifted to me, filled with something fierce. I need a word, Karen said. We're in the middle of a test, I replied. This won't take long. I'm not leaving. You don't have a choice, she snapped. Lily flinched at her tone, and I saw Karen notice it, and ignore it. She motioned to the hallway. Outside. Now. I didn't move. Lily reached weakly toward my sleeve. You can go if you want. Her voice wasn't asking permission. It was afraid of abandonment. I'll be right here, I said. Then I stood and followed Karen out. The hallway outside was empty, silent, washed in bright fluorescent lights. Karen crossed her arms, jaw tight. You're too involved. She asked me to stay. You're not family. She feels safer with me than with you. Karen's expression stiffened, a mix of anger and something else. Jealousy, loss of control. I've seen men like you before, she said coldly. Saviors, heroes. You walk in, pretend you understand, and then disappear when it gets hard. I'm not disappearing. You will, she said. They always do. I stepped closer. This isn't about me. Her eyes flashed. It's always about you people. You come in with your broken past thinking you can fix things, but she doesn't need saving. She needs someone who follows the damn rules. I clenched my jaw. You don't understand her. Karen took a slow breath, then said something that froze me. She reminds me of my sister. It hit out of nowhere. Her tone changed, still sharp, but something pain seeped through. My sister was like her, Karen continued quietly. Too gentle, too emotional, too trusting. And do you know where that got her? I didn't speak. It got her hurt. Her voice cracked. Barely, but it did. She trusted the wrong people. She depended on the wrong people. And when they left, she broke. For a moment, Karen wasn't the villain. She was someone wounded and hiding behind steel walls. I'm not those people, I said. She looked away, blinking hard. Everyone says that. I mean it. For the first time, she hesitated, unsure, but the moment didn't last. Her armor slid back into place. I'll be watching you, she said flatly. One mistake, and you're out. I'm not here for you. I know, she said, her voice tightening. And that's a problem. She walked away quickly, heels echoing like gunshots down the hall. I stood there a second longer, letting my heartbeat settle, before stepping back into Lily's room. She turned her head toward me instantly. You came back. Of course I did. She exhaled, relief washing through her fragile frame like a warm wave. Her fingers curled slightly, reaching, but she stopped herself halfway. I sat down beside her, close enough that our knees nearly touched. You okay? I asked. She makes everything harder, Lily whispered. She scares me sometimes. I won't let her. I don't want to cause trouble. You're not. She is. She swallowed, then said something quiet, something almost lost under the machine hum. I don't want you to leave, because when you're here, I feel like everything might be okay. My chest tightened. I'm not leaving, I repeated softly. Promise. I nodded. Promise. She closed her eyes, finally letting herself relax. The nurse came back to finish the test. Lily's heartbeat steadied with every minute I stayed beside her. And sitting there, watching her fight, watching her breathe, watching her trust, I realized something. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't small. This wasn't temporary. Something was pulling us together. Something bigger than both of us. Something Karen wasn't going to like. But something neither of us could stop. When Lily finished diagnostics that day, I walked her back to her room, slow steps matching hers. She was exhausted, not the normal kind of tired, but the kind that come from fighting something bigger than yourself. Her hand brushed mine once, accidentally, then again, not accidentally, but she was too shy to hold it, and I was stupid enough to pretend I didn't notice. Inside her room, the curtains were half open, letting in a thin sliver of warm light. She sat on the bed carefully, pulling her knees close like she was trying to make herself smaller. I don't like tests, she whispered. They always feel like countdowns. I pulled a chair closer. They are just tests. They are reminders, she said, that something inside me is broken. You're not broken. Her eyes lifted, and for a brief second, the vulnerability in them knocked the air out of my chest. Before she could respond, a nurse stepped in with a tray. Lunchtime, soup and juice. Lily forced a smile, but I could see she wasn't hungry. The nurse gave her a knowing look before leaving us alone again. I hate hospital soup, Lily said. It tastes like wet cardboard trying to be useful. I laughed. You want something else? What? Like pizza? She asked, raising an eyebrow. If that's what you want, I can sneak some in. She shook her head softly. Karen would kill you. She'd have to catch me first. That made her laugh, and the sound was so pure it filled the whole room. But her laughter faded when her eyes drifted to the clock on the wall. "Chemo tomorrow," she whispered. The fear returned in her voice. "Hey," I said gently, "you're not alone in this." She nodded, but her fingers tightened around the edge of the blanket. "You don't understand. Chemo days are different. They are long. They are cold. You watch other people around you getting sicker. Some don't come back the next week. And every time I sit there, I wonder if it'll be me." She didn't cry, but her voice cracked in the spaces between words. "I'll stay with you," I said. She blinked. "You can't. They don't allow non-family." "Then they can throw me out," I said. "I'll still try." She looked down, brushing her thumb over her knuckles, then whispered, "Why are you fighting so hard for me?" "I'm not fighting for you," I said. "I'm fighting with you." Her lips trembled, not with sadness this time, but surprise. A soft knock interrupted us. The door opened, and my stomach tightened immediately. "Karen." She stepped inside with a clipboard, though she clearly didn't need it for anything. Her eyes flicked between us, calculating everything. "Well," she said, "isn't this cozy?" Lily immediately tensed. I could see her shoulders rising slightly, like she was bracing herself for impact. "Do you need something?" I asked coldly. Karen clicked her tongue. "Actually, yes. I need a word with Miss Harper. Alone." Lily shrank. "Can't he stay?" Karen smirked. "Not for this." I didn't move. Karen raised an eyebrow. "Are you deaf or just stubborn?" I leaned forward slightly. "Both." She rolled her eyes. "Fine. If you want to violate privacy policies, go ahead. I have nothing to hide." She turned to Lily. "Your insurance flagged your chart." The room froze. Lily stared at her, throat tight. What does that mean?" "It means," Karen said, flipping the paperwork dramatically, "you are reaching the top of your coverage limit." Lily's face lost what little color it had. "No," she whispered. "Not again." My jaw tightened. "Explain." Karen turned to me. "It means you may not qualify for all the remaining treatments." Lily shook her head quickly. "No, please. I can't start over. They won't approve another. They won't." Her voice broke entirely. I moved closer. "Hey, look at me." Karen cleared her throat loudly. "This is between the patient and the administration, Mr. Cole. You don't get to." "Shut up for once," I snapped. Karen recoiled slightly, surprised at the sharpness in my voice. Lily's breathing picked up, panic rising like a wave she couldn't control. Karen crossed her arms. "I didn't say it's canceled. I said it's under review." "You scared her," I growled. I told her the truth. Adults handle information. "She's fighting for her life," I said, "not filling paperwork." Karen stared at me, her jaw stiff, her expression bordering on anger, but something faintly softer hid behind it. But she hid it fast. "You want to help her?" Karen asked. "Then stop lying to her." She tore a form from her clipboard, placed it on the table with force, and said, "She needs a co-signer, a guarantor, someone with a stable background." Lily whispered, "I don't have anyone." Karen stepped closer. "Then you better find someone quickly." Lily folded in on herself, breathing quick, shallow, scared. "I'll do it," I said. They both froze. Karen's eyebrow flew up. You barely even know her." Lily stared at me like I'd said something impossible. "Ethan, you can't." "I can," I said, "and I will." Karen scoffed. "This isn't a charity form. If her treatment goes long-term, you'll be financially tied to her medical liability." "I don't care." Karen's voice dropped to a cold whisper. "Why?" I answered her without hesitation. "Because she doesn't deserve to die because of paperwork." Karen stared at me long, hard, studying whether I was bluffing. I wasn't. Finally, she sighed sharply, annoyed but defeated. "Fine. I'll bring the full documents later." She turned toward the door, heels clicking, slower this time. Before leaving, she paused. "And Ethan," she said over her shoulder, "don't bite off more than you can chew." Then she left. Lily looked at me with wide, glassy eyes, her lower lip trembling. "Why did you say yes? Why would you risk that for me?" I took her hand gently. "Because losing you is a risk I'm not willing to take." Her breath caught. Tears finally slipped down her cheeks, soft, silent tears that said everything she didn't know how to say. She leaned slightly toward me, weak and scared, and for the first time, she didn't stop herself. Her forehead touched my shoulder. "I don't know why this scares me more than anything," she whispered. "What?" "How much I want you to stay." I closed my eyes, steadying myself. "I'm not going anywhere. Not today. Not tomorrow." And I meant every word. But neither of us knew. Tomorrow would be the day everything changed. The rest of the day moved slowly, like the world was tiptoeing around something it could sense coming. Lily rested after all the tests, but she barely slept. Every few minutes, her eyes would flutter open like she was afraid the room would change while she wasn't looking. I stayed with her until night. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we didn't. But it didn't matter. Being there was enough. At one point, she draped the blanket over her lap and whispered, "You should go home. You've stayed long enough." "You want me to?" I asked. She looked down, fingers brushing the edge of the blanket. "No. Then I'll stay a little longer." She gave a tiny nod, relieved. It was late when I finally stepped out to grab coffee from the vending machine down the hall. The hospital felt different at night, colder, emptier, but also calmer. Lights hummed softly. Nurses walked slower. Doors clicked quietly behind them. When I returned with 2 cups, Karen was standing outside Lily's room. Her arms were crossed. Her face looked tighter than usual. She wasn't her sharp, smug self. She looked conflicted. "What are you doing here this late?" she asked. She had trouble sleeping. I said, "I went to get her tea." "Tea," Karen repeated, like the word personally offended her. "You need something?" I asked. She hesitated. That alone surprised me. Then she said, "I should warn you, the paperwork you agreed to take on for her is not small. It's legally binding. Long term." "I know." "No," she said sharply. "You don't. If her treatment extends into the next phase, you could be responsible for debts that last years." I said, "I know." Karen's eyes narrowed. "People don't do things like this to strangers." "She's not a stranger." "Then what is she?" I didn't answer immediately. Karen studied my face. "You're making this emotional." "It is emotional. She needs stability, not sentiment. She needs someone who actually gives a damn." Karen looked away at the floor for a moment. When she spoke next, her voice was thinner, stripped of her usual armor. "My sister trusted a man like you once." Her voice trembled just barely. "He promised he'd stay. He promised he'd help her through her treatments. He promised he wouldn't let her be alone." She swallowed, breath shaky. "He left halfway through." I felt the truth hit her like a knife she kept twisting into herself. She died believing he'd come back. And then she blinked fast, shutting her expression down like a door slamming shut. "I won't let Lily follow the same path." I met her eyes. "I'm not that man." "We'll see," she said, turning away. Before she left, she paused, and for the first time since I met her, she didn't sound harsh or angry. "Don't give her hope you can't keep." Then she walked away down the dim hallway, leaving something heavy behind her, something painful I couldn't fix. I returned to Lily's room. She was awake, staring at the window. "Bad dream?" I asked quietly. She shook her head. "Just thinking. About tomorrow. About everything." I sat down beside her bed. She watched my hands as I placed the tea on the table. "Ethan," she whispered, "was Karen mean again?" "No," I said honestly. "Not this time." "Really? Really?" "She looked upset earlier," Lily said, like she was carrying something heavy. I nodded slowly. "She is." Lily stared at me for a long moment. "Do you hate her?" she asked softly. "I don't know," I answered. "I think she's fighting her own battles. But she hurts people when she fights." Lily's eyes dimmed a little. "I don't want enemies," she whispered. "I just want peace." "You deserve peace." She pulled the blanket tighter around herself. "Ethan, will you come tomorrow? For chemo?" "I told you," I said. "I'll be there." She hesitated. "Even if I'm sick? Even if I'm hard to look at?" "Especially then." Her breath shook, and she looked away quickly so I wouldn't see the tears forming. She didn't want to cry tonight. She wanted to be strong. But her voice cracked anyway. "I'm scared of needing you." "You can need me. I'm right here." She wiped her cheeks and whispered, "I don't want to lose someone again." "You're not losing me." "And if I get worse," she whispered, "will you still stay?" "Yes." A single tear fell onto her blanket. "I don't want to die," she whispered. My chest tightened, not because of what she said, but because of the way she said it, like someone admitting a secret they've held too long. "You're not dying," I said quietly. "You don't know that. I know you're strong. Being strong doesn't stop cancer, but it keeps you fighting." She looked at me, a long, deep look that carried more emotion than either of us could name. "Why do you care so much?" she asked. "Because somewhere between yesterday and today," I whispered, "you stopped being just someone I met." She swallowed hard, her eyes trembling. "What am I now?" "You're someone I want to protect." Her breath hitched. The air between us felt charged, quiet, intimate, fragile. Then she reached out slowly, like she was scared to break something invisible, and placed her hand over mine. Her fingers were cold, small, and trembling. "I'm glad you came into my life," she whispered. "I'm glad too." Outside, thunder cracked softly, sudden, distant. Lily flinched, then smiled weakly. "Storm's coming." "Let it come," I said. "We'll face it." She held onto my hand tighter. But neither of us knew. The real storm wasn't outside. It was already inside these walls. And tomorrow, when chemo began, everything would shift. For her, for me, and for Karen, in ways none of us were ready for. The morning of Lily's chemo felt different. Even the air in the hallway felt heavier, like the walls knew something we didn't. I walked into the infusion ward early, carrying a small paper bag, ginger candies, soft socks, and a book she once said she wanted to read but never got the chance to finish. I expected her to be there already. She wasn't. The room was too quiet. Empty recliners, humming machines, cold lights. A nurse recognized me and walked over. "She's not here yet." I asked. "She was supposed to be," the nurse said. "Karen came earlier. She took Lily's file with her." A cold wave moved through my chest. "Where is she now?" I asked. The nurse shook her head. "I don't know." I didn't wait. I headed straight down the hall, my footsteps echoing like warnings. When I reached Lily's room, the door was half open. She sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders curled inward, hands shaking in her lap. Karen stood across from her, not shouting, not angry, just cold. "I'm sorry," Karen was saying, "but the administration is requiring additional clearance before we continue treatment." "But the last cycle already worked," Lily whispered. "You said we'd continue today." "That was before the insurance review," Karen replied, voice flat. "Your coverage doesn't approve another infusion without updated evaluations." Lily's voice cracked. "But I don't have time to wait." "That's not my decision." I stepped into the doorway. "It's your fault." Karen turned sharply. "This is administrative protocol." "No," I said, walking closer. "This is you punishing her." Karen stiffened, her eyes narrowing. "You don't know what you're talking about. She needs treatment today." "And she will get it," Karen snapped, "when her documents are cleared." "That could take days," I said. "Maybe weeks." Karen didn't respond. Lily swallowed hard, her fingers knotting in her blanket. "I can't wait weeks," she whispered. "You know that." But Karen looked away, jaw clenched, almost as if she couldn't bear meeting Lily's eyes. In that moment, I saw something flicker in Karen's face. Not hate, not authority. Fear. Fear of making the wrong decision. Fear of losing someone again. Fear disguised as cruelty. But fear wasn't helping Lily. It was killing her. I sat beside Lily on the bed, placing the bag next to her. She leaned slightly into me, unconsciously seeking warmth, safety. "Tell her the truth," I said to Karen. "Tell her chemo can't be delayed." Karen's lips tightened. "I'm following hospital policy." "Then change it." "That's not how this works." Lily covered her face with her hands, her voice trembling. "Please, please don't fight." I can't." Her breathing became uneven, soft, rapid gasps like she was drowning in the air. I held her shoulders. "Hey, it's okay. Breathe with me." She tried, but panic rose faster than she could control. Even Karen stepped forward. "Lily, look at me." But Lily flinched at her voice. Karen froze. She understood. Her voice triggered the fear. I whispered calmly, "Look at me instead. You're safe. I'm here." Lily gripped my sleeve so tightly her nails pressed through the fabric. The monitor behind us beeped, sensing her rising pulse. Karen moved toward the door. "I'll get help." "No," I said. "Just give her space." For once, Karen actually listened. Lily's breathing slowed slowly, painfully, until she rested her forehead against my chest. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't know why I get like this." "You don't have to explain," I said softly. "You fought long enough. Let someone else fight for you now." She nodded weakly, eyes glossy. Karen stood near the door, staring at the floor as if trying to swallow something heavy. After a long moment, she said quietly, "The lab result from yesterday, they came early." Lily lifted her head a little, and Karen hesitated, something she never did. "Your markers increased," she said finally. "The cancer is spreading faster." Lily froze. My throat tightened. "Not here. Not now. Not like this." Karen continued, voice thin and tight. "You don't have weeks. You need treatment immediately." Lily's eyes filled, her entire body trembling. "But you just said—" "I know what I said," Karen snapped, but her voice cracked. "I was following rules." "And now?" I asked quietly. Karen closed her eyes for a moment, then exhaled, defeated. "And now," she whispered, "I'm breaking them." Lily blinked, confused. "What?" "You're getting chemo today," Karen said. "I'll sign the clearance myself." The weight of those words hit all of us. "Why?" I asked. Karen looked at Lily, really looked at her, like she was seeing past the patient file, past the rules, past her own walls. "Because I can't lose someone like you," she said softly. "Not again." Lily stared at her with shaking eyes, torn between fear and relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Karen nodded stiffly, trying not to show emotion. "Don't thank me yet. This will be hard." "I know," Lily said, her voice shaking. "But I'm not alone." Her fingers slid into mine, slow, fragile, intentional. Karen's eyes flicked to our hands, and something stung in her expression, a mix of understanding, jealousy, and something softer. She turned away quickly. "Chemo starts in 20 minutes. I'll prep the room." When she left, the door clicked softly behind her, and Lily whispered, barely audible, "I'm scared, but I'm ready." "I'm right here," I said, "every second." She squeezed my hand, not hard, but enough to tell me she was holding on. Outside, nurses hurried, machines beeped, the world moved too fast. But inside that quiet room, everything slowed down. This was a moment life split in two, the before and after, and we were crossing that line together. The chemo room was colder than any other place in the hospital. The lights were bright, too bright, reflecting off the chrome stands and plastic bags of medicine hanging like silent threats. When I walked Lily inside, she tightened her grip on my hand, trying to brave the fear rising inside her. A nurse guided her to a recliner. It looked soft, but she sat down like it was a chair made of needles. I knelt beside her, placing the soft socks I brought over her feet. She smiled faintly. "You remembered." "I remember everything," I whispered. She swallowed and looked at the 4-line resting on the tray. Her breathing quickened again. I leaned closer. "Look at me, not the needle." "I'll try," she whispered. Karen walked in with the chemo bag. She wasn't wearing her usual cold expression. Her eyes were softer, almost heavy. She stood at the foot of the chair, holding the bag like it weighed more than it should. "Ready?" she asked. Lily nodded, though she clearly wasn't. I held her hand gently as a nurse inserted the needle. Her fingers tightened around mine, her knuckles turning white. A small tear escaped her eye, but she didn't look away from me. "That's it," I whispered. "You're doing great." Once the medicine began flowing, Lily sank deeper into the chair, exhaustion already pulling at her. "Chemo does that," Karen said quietly. "It hits fast." Lily looked up at her. "Thank you for helping." Karen hesitated, then nodded. "You remind me too much of someone I failed. I wasn't going to repeat it." Lily gave her a weak smile. Karen looked away almost immediately, hiding the crack in her voice. "We'll monitor you from outside," she said. Then she turned to me. "Stay with her. She needs you." For the first time, it didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a request. She left, closing the door gently behind her. The room went silent except for the steady drip of medicine and Lily's soft breathing. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did you come into my life?" she whispered. I brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "Maybe because you needed someone." She smiled weakly. "Maybe because you did too." I didn't deny it. She leaned back, letting the medicine do its work, though it clearly hurt. A sharp breath escaped her. I held her hand tighter. It burns, she whispered. I know. But I'll be okay, because you're here. Minutes drifted by slowly, her breaths growing heavier. She closed her eyes, but her fingers never left mine. I could feel every tremor, every shiver, every fear traveling through her skin. Suddenly, her body twitched, pain hitting her in waves. Ethan, I'm here. It's too much. I've got you. Her breathing sped up, then slowed, then sped up again. Talk to me, she whispered urgently. I need your voice. I leaned closer, placing my forehead gently against hers. You're not alone, I whispered. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Her breath steadied again. I like listening to you, she murmured. It feels like the world stops hurting. I'll talk forever then. A small tear slipped down her cheek. Don't make promises like that, she whispered. What if you break them? I won't. You can't know that. I do. She opened her eyes just enough to look at me. I'm scared, she breathed. And I'm right here, I said. Right here. She rested her head against my shoulder, fragile as glass. Will you stay until I fall asleep? She whispered. I'll stay long after you fall asleep. Her lips parted, forming a tiny smile. And then, slowly, her breathing calmed. Her body relaxed. Her eyes fluttered closed, and her hand loosened, though she still held on. Minutes passed. Then more. The drip continued its rhythm. Karen peeked in once, saw us, and didn't say a word. She simply nodded and closed the door quietly. The world felt slow, heavy, quiet. Lily stirred again after a while, her voice softer now. Ethan? Yes. If something happens to me. I shook my head. Don't. Please, she whispered. Let me say it. My chest tightened, but I nodded weakly. If something happens, don't disappear back into your pain. Don't go back to hiding. I swallowed hard. You brought light back into my life, she whispered. Don't let it fade when I'm gone. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I blinked them away. I told you, I whispered, you're not going anywhere. She smiled gently. Maybe not today, maybe not soon, but someday. I held her face in my hands. When that day comes, she whispered, remember I wasn't afraid because I had you. I kissed her forehead, slow, soft, trembling. She sighed as if the warmth sunk deep into her bones. I wish, she whispered. What? I wish I'd met you sooner. Me too. Her eyes slowly closed again, the chemo pulling her into exhaustion. Her breathing settled, slow and steady. Not perfect, not strong, but alive. It took another hour for the session to end. The nurse removed the four gently as Lily drifted between sleep and waking. She leaned into me the whole time, fragile but peaceful. When everything was done, I carried her back to her room. She was too tired to walk, too tired to hold herself up, but her arms wrapped around my neck weakly. You're warm, she whispered. You're safe, I whispered back. I laid her in bed carefully. Her fingers still reached for mine even in sleep. As I sat beside her, the storm outside cracked through the sky again, louder, closer, but Lily didn't flinch this time. She was finally resting. Karen watched from the doorway silently. For once, there was no anger, no coldness, no rules. Just quiet understanding. You make her brave, Karen said softly. She makes me human, I replied. Karen nodded, emotion flickering across her face. Then she whispered something I never expected. Take care of her better than I could. I will, I promised. Karen left without another word. I turned back to Lily, brushing her hair gently. She breathed out, peaceful, fragile, beautiful, strong. And in that quiet moment, holding her hand as she slept, I knew this wasn't the end of a fight. It wasn't the end of mine either, but it was the start of something else. Something bigger than fear, stronger than pain, and deeper than either of us understood. The start of us, together, no matter how long, no matter how fragile, no matter how hard. We were choosing each other, and that was enough.